On my 31st birthday, my parents walked into my duplex with a birthday cake in one hand and proof they had emptied my savings in the other. My mother carried the cake. My father carried this bank receipt. For one stupid second, I thought they had come to celebrate me. Then I saw the cake had my name spelled wrong. Hannah. One N. But the receipt had my life spelled out perfectly. $81,432.17. Gone. My father dropped it beside the cake and said, "Don't make that face, Hannah. Your sister needed a future." My mother didn't even take off her coat. She tapped the receipt with one red fingernail and smiled like she had done something kind. "Brianna's salon is happening now," she said. "You should be proud." The candle on my cake leaned sideways, melting into the frosting. My father laughed softly like I was being dramatic before I had even spoken. Then he said the sentence that finally killed the daughter in me who still wanted his approval. "Besides, you were never going to do anything big with it." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the cake. I just looked at the receipt, then at my parents, and wondered how long it would take them to understand what they had really emptied. Because that account was not my dream. It was the account that had been quietly keeping their lives from collapsing. And by taking it for Brianna, they had just cut the last rope holding themselves up. In my family, love had always had a favorite child. Her name was Brianna. She was the daughter with dance lessons, pageant dresses, birthday breakfasts, framed certificates, and Facebook captions full of heart emojis. I was Hannah, the practical one, the responsible one, the one who understood. That word followed me around like a leash. Hannah understands we can't afford 2 new dresses. Hannah understands Brianna is sensitive. Hannah understands she has to share her room. Hannah understands this is not about her. I did understand. I understood by age 10 that if Brianna cried, the whole house stopped. If I cried, my mother sighed. I understood that Brianna's wants became family emergencies, while my needs became attitude problems. And I understood that the quieter I became, the easier I was to use. When Brianna was 12, she cried for 40 minutes because the cheer sneakers she wanted were too white instead of soft white. My mother drove her back to the mall that same night. The next morning, I wore old sneakers to school with cardboard tucked inside one sole because rainwater came through the bottom. When I told Mom, she said, "Just avoid puddles." That was how childhood worked in our house. Brianna got solutions. I got advice. The first time my father took money from me, I was 16. I had worked all summer at a frozen yogurt shop, smelling like strawberry syrup, bleach, and waffle cones. I saved every tip in a coffee can under my bed because I wanted to buy a used laptop before junior year. One Saturday morning, Dad came into my room with his truck keys already in his hand. "Where's that cash you've been stashing?" he asked. I sat up in bed, confused. "It's for my laptop." He waved that away. "Brianna's cheer camp deposit is due today." My mother stood behind him in the doorway, arms crossed. "Hannah, don't be selfish. Family helps family." That was the first time I learned stealing could sound gentle if a parent said it slowly enough. Brianna came home that afternoon with a new duffel bag, pink sneakers, and a hoodie with her name stitched across the back. I used the school library computers until graduation. No one ever mentioned my laptop again. After that, the pattern became normal. When Brianna needed something, everyone moved. When I needed something, everyone explained why I could wait. Brianna quit community college after one semester because, according to Mom, her creative spirit needed room. I took night classes while working mornings at a grocery store, and Dad said, "Good. You're finally learning real life." When Brianna got a part-time job at a boutique, my parents took her to dinner at Olive Garden and posted pictures like she had been promoted to CEO. When I got hired in payroll at St. Mary's Medical Center, my father handed me the electric bill and said, "Now that you've got a real paycheck, help us out." That was my celebration. A bill across the kitchen table. I became good with numbers because numbers were fair. Numbers did not favor the prettier daughter. Numbers did not roll their eyes. Numbers did not say, "Stop being dramatic." If I worked 40 hours, the paycheck showed 40 hours. If I saved $300, the balance grew by $300. Numbers were the first honest relationship I ever had. By 24, I lived in a small duplex on the edge of Maple Falls, Ohio. It was nothing special. The kitchen tiles were cracked. The heater clicked like it was thinking about quitting. My upstairs neighbor owned a dog that barked at shadows. And every winter, cold air slipped under the front door so badly I had to roll up towels and wedge them against the frame. But it was mine. Nobody yelled through the walls about Brianna's dreams. Nobody borrowed my cash from a coffee can. Nobody told me to sleep on the couch because my sister needed privacy. I started saving for a house, Not a mansion. Not a fancy place with a gate and a long driveway. Just a small bungalow with a porch, a yard, and a front door nobody could open without my permission. I wanted a kitchen window facing trees instead of a parking lot. I wanted a room where I could breathe. I wanted proof that I had not spent my whole life being useful to other people and ended up with nothing of my own. So I saved $50 some months, 600 other months, holiday pay, overtime, tax refunds, little bonuses, money I earned by staying late when payroll software crashed, by picking up extra shifts, by saying no to trips, dinners, new clothes, and every small luxury that made my coworkers look rested and human. I didn't tell my parents the real number. I had learned that information in my family was not information. It was inventory. If they knew I had something, they would start deciding who needed it more. But they knew enough. They knew I was careful. They knew I didn't vacation. They knew I drove a used Honda with a dented bumper. They knew I wore the same black coat for 6 winters. So in their minds, I had extra. And extra in my family meant available. The first time I covered my parents' mortgage shortage, Dad called it a rough month. The second time, Mom called it temporary. By the 5th time, nobody called it anything. They just texted, "Mortgage short again. Can you send it? Insurance due tomorrow." Dad's supplier payment bounced. "Brianna needs rent help." Don't embarrass her by bringing it up. I wish I could say I refused. I didn't. Not then. Back then, I still believed some part of the bargain might work. Maybe if I helped enough, they would finally see me. Maybe if I saved the house enough times, it would feel like home. Maybe if I proved I was generous, they would stop calling me cold. That is the humiliating thing about being the overlooked child. You can understand the pattern and still ache for one kind word. So I opened a separate account at Maple County Credit Union. I named it Family Buffer. Even the name embarrassed me. But it was accurate. That account became the cushion under everyone else's mistakes. Mortgage, insurance, property tax, Dad's hardware store supplier bill, Mom's dental balance, Brianna's car repair, Brianna's late rent, Brianna's second late rent, Brianna's last time I swear late rent. I kept enough there to handle the emergencies they created, then acted too proud to admit. My real savings lived somewhere else. That idea came from Maria, my coworker. Maria was in her 50s, divorced sharp as a paper cut and kinder than she looked. One afternoon, she found me in the break room staring at a text from my mother until my lunch went cold. She didn't ask me what happened. She just looked at my face and said, "Hannah, people who love your help more than they love your peace will spend both." I never forgot that. 2 weeks later, I opened a new account at a different bank. No shared computer, no old passwords, no security questions my mother could guess. That became my real house fund, my porch fund, my key in my own hand fund. The family buffer kept doing what it had always done, quietly catching everyone else. My family never thanked me. They didn't even really notice. That was the strangest part. If a payment went through, life simply continued. Dad's hardware store lights stayed on. Mom's church friends still came over for coffee. Brianna kept posting brunch photos with captions like "Soft Life Era." And I kept working. Then Brianna decided she was going to open a salon. Not rent a chair, not start small. A full salon downtown with blush chairs, gold mirrors, a flower wall, a champagne fridge, and a neon sign that said, "Brianna May Beauty." She showed us the mood board during Sunday dinner. I had come straight from a 12-hour shift at the hospital. My badge was still clipped to my sweater. My feet hurt so badly I had to slide one shoe halfway off under the table. Nobody asked how work was. Brianna turned her tablet around and said, "Isn't this gorgeous?" The salon looked beautiful. Expensive but beautiful. White counters, pink velvet, a bridal makeup station, a selfie wall. Dad looked like he might cry. "This," he said, pointing at the screen, "is legacy." Mom pressed her hands together. "My baby is finally building something." I waited. I don't know why. Maybe I thought somebody would remember I had been building something too. My house fund, my future, my life. But no one looked at me. I said carefully, "It looks expensive. Does she have financing?" The air changed. Brianna's smile thinned. Dad put his fork down. "Hannah, don't start." "I'm not starting. I'm asking." Mom sighed like I had embarrassed her in public. Not everything is about spreadsheets. That was how they dismissed me, until something needed to be paid. Then spreadsheets suddenly mattered. For the next 3 months, Brianna's salon became the family's favorite child. Mom posted constantly, "So proud of our brave girl. Some daughters are born to shine. Big things coming for the Whitaker family." There were photos of Brianna holding paint samples, Brianna touring empty spaces. Brianna sipping coffee with mom at a marble table. Brianna hugging dad under a sign that said retail space available. I was not tagged. At Easter dinner, Aunt Linda asked Hannah, "Are you helping with the salon too?" Before I could answer, Brianna laughed. Hannah helps by asking depressing questions. Everyone chuckled. Dad raised his glass. Every family needs a dreamer and a realist. I thought for half a second that he might look at me kindly. Instead, he turned to Brianna. To the dreamer. I drove home that night with a foil pan of leftover ham on the passenger seat and a knot in my throat. Before I reached the highway, my phone buzzed. "Mom, your father was hurt by your attitude tonight." Then Brianna, "I know you don't get ambition, but try not to ruin this for me." I pulled into a gas station parking lot and stared at those messages under the cold white lights. Then I opened my real savings account. The house fund was still there. Safe. Growing. Mine. I whispered. Just a little longer. By early May, I had enough for a down payment. There was a small blue bungalow on Linden Street. The porch sagged a little. The mailbox leaned like it was tired. The kitchen cabinets were an ugly yellow from another decade. I loved it immediately. The realtor said, "It needs work." I said, "So do I." I made an offer quietly. No family group chat. No announcement. No Facebook post. Just me, my realtor, and a lender who called me Ms. Whitaker with respect in his voice. The inspection was scheduled for the week after my birthday. For the first time in years, I felt hope that did not require anyone else's permission. Then my parents walked into my duplex with the cake and the receipt. Dad had a key because I had once given it to them when I had the flu. I forgot to ask for it back. That was on me. Mom set the cake on the table. Hannah. 1N. I stared at it longer than I should have. Maybe because that tiny mistake felt too honest. Even on my own birthday cake, there was something missing. Dad cleared his throat and pulled the receipt from inside his jacket. "Before you overreact," he said, "we made a family decision." I looked down. Withdrawal, $81,432.17. The family buffer was empty. For a moment, the number did not look real. It looked like something printed for another woman's life. Mom spoke quickly like she had rehearsed it in the car. Brianna's lease deposit was due. The contractor needed the first payment. If we waited, she could lose the space. Dad leaned against my counter. "You always say money should be useful." Well, now it is. I lifted my eyes. "You took $81,000. Mom's mouth tightened. "Don't say it like that." "How should I say it?" Dad laughed. "Say you helped your sister." "It was my account. It was family money." "No. It was money I kept there because you kept needing help." That annoyed him. I could tell by the way his jaw shifted. Mom reached for my hand. I moved it away. Her face hardened. "Hannah, don't do this. Your sister is building a business. She has clients waiting. She has a brand. So did I." Dad frowned. "You have a job." I stared at him. He didn't even understand what he had said. To him, my job was enough. My dream was extra. Brianna was allowed to become something. I was supposed to be grateful I could pay for it. My phone buzzed. A text from Brianna. "Thank you for finally supporting me. Please don't make Sunday weird." I almost laughed. Sunday. Of course there was a Sunday. Mom noticed my expression. "We're having an announcement dinner in the backyard. Just family and a few friends from church. Brianna wants photos." Dad added, "You'll come. You'll smile. No sulking." The candle on the cake had burned low wax bleeding into the frosting. I folded the receipt once and placed it beside the cake. Did Brianna know where the money came from? Mom looked away. Dad said, "She knows the family came through." The family. Not me. Never me. Something inside me went still. Not dead. Not empty. Still, like a hand finally letting go of a hot pan. I looked at both of them and said, "Okay." Mom blinked. Dad looked suspicious. "That's it. That's it." He smiled slowly, mistaking calm for defeat. "Good. You're finally acting mature." They left 10 minutes later with their key still in Dad's pocket. After the door closed, I stood in my kitchen and listened to the silence. Then my knees gave out. I made it to the bathroom before I collapsed onto the cold tile with the receipt still in my hand. I pressed my fist against my mouth because even alone I still felt trained not to make too much noise. That is what being the easy child does to you. It teaches you to break quietly. I sat there until the candle on the cake burned itself out in the other room. Then I got up, washed my face, opened the family buffer account. 0. I opened my real house fund. Untouched. Whole. Waiting. I stared at that balance until my breathing steadied. Then I laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because after all those years, my parents had taught me to expect betrayal so well that I had accidentally become prepared for it. That night, I did not call the police. I did not threaten anyone. I did not write a dramatic post. I made tea. I opened my laptop. And one by one, I canceled every payment that had been quietly keeping my family comfortable. Mortgage shortage transfer. Canceled. Home insurance autopay. Canceled. Property tax installment. Canceled. Dad's hardware store supplier payment. Canceled. Mom's dental reimbursement. Canceled. Brianna's car insurance help. Canceled. The monthly family emergency transfer Dad had called temporary for 4 years. Canceled. Each click was small, almost peaceful. But with every cancellation, I felt a little more of myself come home. I took out a yellow notepad and wrote at the top, "Things I no longer owe." I thought the list would be long. It wasn't. I wrote only 5 lines. I do not owe them my savings. I do not owe them my silence. I do not owe them my house. I do not owe them my future. I do not owe them a smile while they use me. Then I blew out the crooked candle. The first call came Tuesday morning. Dad. I let it ring. Then Mom. Then Brianna. Then Dad again. Mom left a voicemail while I was getting ready for work. "Hannah, call us. Something is wrong with the insurance payment." Her voice was annoyed, not afraid yet. By lunch, Dad texted. "Mortgage transfer didn't go through." Then, "Call me." Then, "This is childish." Then, "Do not punish the whole family because you're jealous." I sat in my car outside St. Mary's reading that last message. Jealous. That old word. Their favorite bucket to throw over any truth they did not want to see. I typed back. I stopped paying bills that were not mine. The typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then Dad called. This time I answered. "What the hell does that mean?" he snapped. "It means I stopped paying bills that were not mine. You can't just cancel things without warning. You emptied the account without warning. That money went to your sister." "I know. She needed it. And you needed your mortgage paid." Silence. For once my father had no sentence ready. Then he lowered his voice. "Hannah, don't be stupid. This affects the house. The house you told me I didn't need." He breathed hard through his nose. "Don't twist my words." "I'm not twisting them. I'm finally hearing them." He hung up. At work, I processed payroll with the clearest mind I'd had in years. Names, hours, deposits, deductions. People worked. People got paid. Simple. Fair. Maria stopped at my desk around 3. "You okay?" she asked. I looked up. For once, I didn't lie. "I think I just resigned from being the family bank." Maria nodded. "Good. Don't let them rehire you." Sunday came warm and bright, the kind of day my mother loved, because photos looked good in natural light. Their backyard was decorated like a bridal shower. White balloons tied to the fence, cupcakes on a folding table, a poster board propped near the patio with Brianna's salon logo printed in gold. Brianna May Beauty. Under it, in curling letters, "Built by family. Made with love." I stood at the gate holding a plain brown envelope. Through the kitchen window, I saw Mom arranging napkins, Dad standing by the grill, and Brianna posing with 2 women from Mom's church. She wore a cream jumpsuit and gold earrings. She looked radiant, not grateful. Radiant in the way people look when they believe life has finally agreed with them. Half the people in that yard had watched me grow up. They had seen me refill lemonade pitchers at cookouts while Brianna posed for pictures. They had watched me clear plates at birthdays where my name was barely mentioned. They thought I was quiet. They didn't know quiet was what my family had trained me to be. Aunt Linda saw me first. "Hannah, honey, you made it." Everyone turned. Mom hurried toward me with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "Please behave," she whispered. "Hello to you too," I said. Her face twitched. "This day is important for your sister. Most days are." She ignored that and pulled me toward the patio. Dad raised his spatula. "Well, look who decided to join the family." A few people laughed. Not loudly, just enough to remind me how comfortable everyone was with my humiliation. Brianna hugged me with one arm, careful not to wrinkle her jumpsuit. "Thanks for coming," she whispered near my ear. "Please don't make this about your feelings." I smiled. "I won't have to." She pulled back. "What does that mean?" Before I could answer, Mom clapped her hands. "Everyone gather around. Brianna wants to say a few words." The backyard settled into a semicircle. Relatives, neighbors, church friends, Dad's old hardware store buddy, people who had known me since I was a quiet kid hiding behind paper plates at cookouts, people who thought I was simply private, people who did not know privacy had been my only protection. Brianna stood in front of the poster board and lifted a glass of sparkling cider. "I just want to thank everyone who believed in me," she began. Mom already had a tissue ready. Starting a business is scary, Brianna continued. But I'm blessed to come from a family that understands dreams require sacrifice. She looked at me, only for a second, but long enough. Dad nodded proudly. Mom dabbed her eye. Brianna smiled wider. My parents taught me that legacy means building something bigger than yourself. Then she lifted her glass toward me, and to Hannah, for finally understanding that family comes before personal comfort. There it was, the insult dressed as gratitude. Everyone turned to look at me. Dad gave me a warning glance. Say something nice, he said. Brianna tilted her head and smiled. Come on, Hannah. Don't look so wounded. You were always the backup plan. Don't act shocked when we used you like one. The yard went quiet for half a second. Not because they understood, because even they heard how ugly it sounded. Then Brianna laughed under her breath. You know what I mean. I looked at her. For most of my life, a sentence like that would have made me disappear into myself. But that afternoon, it did the opposite. It opened the door. I walked forward. My legs were steady. That surprised me. For years, standing in front of my family made me feel small again, like the girl in the doorway, like the daughter waiting for someone to remember she was there. But that afternoon under the maple tree with white balloons moving behind Brianna's head, I did not feel small. I felt finished. Finished begging. Finished explaining. Finished paying for people who called my boundaries selfish. I placed the brown envelope on the patio table. I did bring something, I said. Mom's face changed. Hannah. I opened the envelope and took out a few pages. Not a huge stack. Not some dramatic legal folder. Just enough. A past due mortgage notice with my payment confirmation stapled behind it. A home insurance reminder with my transfer receipt clipped to the corner. A screenshot of Mom's text that said, "Can you cover this and not mention it to Brianna?" And right beside it, a screenshot of Mom's Facebook post from that same week. So proud of Brianna for standing on her own 2 feet. No one moved. I placed the first page on the table. This is the mortgage shortage I covered in 2020. Dad stepped forward. Stop. I placed another page. This is the property tax payment from 2021. Another, home insurance. Another, Dad's supplier payment when the hardware store account was about to freeze. Another, Mom's dental bill. Another, Brianna's rent. Brianna's face flushed. I placed the final page down. And this is the account Mom and Dad emptied last week for the salon. The grill hissed behind Dad. A white balloon knocked softly against the fence. Aunt Linda leaned closer to the table. Hannah, she said slowly, you paid all of this. Mom's voice came out sharp. This is not the time. I looked at her. You made my birthday the time. Dad pointed at me. You are embarrassing your mother. No, I said. I'm telling the truth in the same backyard where you wanted me to smile for a lie. Brianna crossed her arms. Oh my God. You helped with some bills. Congratulations. Do you want a medal? Aunt Linda looked at her. Some bills. Brianna blinked. I turned to my sister. That account paid your car insurance for 11 months. Her mouth opened. It covered your apartment deposit after you told everyone you handled it yourself. Her eyes flashed. It covered the rent you were too embarrassed to admit you missed. Mom whispered Hannah stop. But I didn't. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't shaking. I was just done protecting people from the truth they had created. And last week I said, Mom and Dad emptied that same account for your salon. The account that was supposed to pay their mortgage shortage, their insurance, and Dad's supplier bill this month. A phone rang. Sharp. Loud. Everyone looked around. It was Dad's phone on the patio table. The screen lit up. Maple County Credit Union. Mom's hand flew to her necklace. Don't answer that here, she hissed. But Dad was already angry enough to make bad choices. He picked it up. This is Don Whitaker. We could only hear his side at first. Yes. What do you mean, returned? No, that payment is automatic. His eyes shifted toward me. No, don't pause the supplier line. I've had that account for 20 years. The backyard went silent. Absolutely silent. Then the representative's voice became faintly audible through the phone. Mr. Whitaker, the scheduled payments could not process because the account balance was withdrawn before the payment date. We can discuss options, but we cannot release funds that are no longer available. Dad lowered the phone slowly. His face had gone pale. Uncle Ray muttered, Good Lord. Aunt Linda covered her mouth. Brianna stared at the poster board like it had betrayed her. For once, nobody rushed to comfort Brianna. Nobody told me to calm down. Nobody looked at me like I was the problem. They were all looking at the table, at the payment confirmations, at my mother's text messages, at my father's pale face, at Brianna's salon poster that said, Built by family, made with love. and suddenly everyone understood which family member had been doing the building. Mom turned to me. "What did you do?" I looked at her. "I stopped replacing what you take." Dad slammed the phone onto the table. "You planned this." "No," I said. "I prepared for it." Brianna's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed cruel. "You're jealous. You always hated that I had bigger dreams." There it was again. Jealous. The word they used when they wanted me quiet. But this time it did not land. "I was never jealous of you," I said. "I was exhausted from paying for the life everyone said you earned." That sentence changed the yard. I felt it. Aunt Linda looked down. Dad's old friend shifted his weight. One of Mom's church friends pressed her lips together and stared at the Facebook screenshot. Brianna's face crumpled. For 1 second I saw the little girl my parents had also damaged. The one they taught to believe love meant being chosen first. But then she lifted her chin and said, "You ruined my announcement." I nodded slowly. "No, I refuse to keep funding it." Mom stepped between us. "Hannah, sweetheart, listen to me." "Sweetheart." She only called me that when she needed something. "You're upset," she said. "We understand. But the house insurance cannot lapse. Your father's supplier account cannot be frozen. We just need you to move some money back until we figure this out." I looked around the yard, at the relatives who had laughed when Dad mocked me, at the neighbors who had liked Mom's posts about Brianna's bravery, at the church friends standing beside a poster that said "Built by Family," at my sister who had thanked me like I was an ATM with feelings she found inconvenient. Then I looked at my mother. Number. The word was not loud. It did not need to be. Mom stared at me. "What do you mean, no? I'm done." Dad's face darkened. "You would let your parents struggle. I watched you let me struggle my entire life." That sentence took the air out of the yard. No one moved. No one defended them. No one told me to be respectful. Because for once respect was not being measured by how quietly I suffered. Mom's tears disappeared. Anger replaced them. "You are being cruel." "No," I said. "Cruel is remembering one daughter's dreams and spending the other daughter's life to pay for them." Aunt Linda whispered my name, but I couldn't tell if it was sadness or apology. "I picked up my purse," Brianna said. "So that's it? You're just walking away." I looked at her. "I'm walking back to myself." Then I left. I did not slam the gate. I did not speed away. I got into my old Honda, closed the door, and sat there until my hands stopped shaking. Freedom, I learned that day, does not always feel like victory at first. Sometimes it feels like grief, because when you stop being useful to people who only loved your usefulness, you have to mourn the family you kept trying to earn. The fallout was not dramatic in the way movies make things dramatic. No police, no courtroom, no shouting on the evening news. Real consequences are quieter. They show up in canceled orders, late notices, awkward church conversations, a salon opening postponed due to unexpected delays, a mother deleting Facebook posts at midnight, a father avoiding eye contact at the grocery store. Brianna lost the downtown space because the contractor payment schedule fell apart. She posted a quote online that said, "Sometimes the people closest to you hate seeing you grow." I stared at it for a full minute. Then I blocked her stories. A week later, Mom deleted every post that said Brianna had built the salon by herself. But screenshots travel faster than apologies in a small town. By Sunday, 2 women from her church had stopped by Dad's hardware store asking if Hannah was okay. Not Brianna. Hannah. Dad had to call his supplier and ask for smaller deliveries. Mom canceled the patio furniture she had ordered for Brianna's grand opening party. The house did not disappear overnight, but for the first time in years, my parents had to look directly at the bills they had been handing to me in pieces. They called. I did not answer. They texted. I did not explain. Then relatives started calling. Aunt Linda was first. I expected a lecture. Instead, she said, "Hannah, I didn't know." Her voice sounded small. "I thought you were just private." I said. Because every time I told the truth, they called it disrespect. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Your grandmother would have been proud of you." That broke me more than the shouting had. After we hung up, I cried on my kitchen floor. Not pretty crying, not gentle tears, the kind that makes your whole face hurt. I cried for the laptop I never got, for the birthday cake with my name spelled wrong, for every dinner where my good news died while Brianna's smallest idea became a toast, for every bill I paid while my mother posted about my sister's courage, for the little girl who thought being easy to love meant needing less. Then I washed my face, went to bed, and woke up the next morning still free. 2 weeks later, I closed on the blue bungalow on Linden Street. The porch still sagged. The mailbox still leaned. The kitchen cabinets were still a terrible yellow. But when the realtor handed me the keys, I held them so tightly they left red marks in my palm. Maria came over that weekend with pizza, a toolbox, and a cheap bottle of champagne. We sat on the empty living room floor, eating from paper plates. She lifted her plastic cup. To not reopening. I laughed. To not reopening. For the next month, I painted after work. Soft white in the living room. Warm green in the kitchen. Dark blue on the front door. Every brushstroke felt like proof. No one interrupted. No one asked what it cost. No one told me someone else needed it more. One evening while I was pulling painter's tape from the window trim, a letter arrived from Brianna. I almost threw it away. But curiosity won. Her handwriting was the same dramatic loop it had been in high school. Hannah, it began. Not Hun, not sis. Hannah. She wrote that Mom and Dad had not told her everything. She wrote that she knew that did not excuse her. She wrote that it had been easy to believe money appeared because believing that meant she did not have to ask who was disappearing behind it. She wrote that she had taken a part-time job at a salon outside town. Then she wrote one sentence I read 3 times. I don't know how to be your sister without being the favorite, but I think I need to learn. I folded the letter and put it in a kitchen drawer. I did not reply that day, or that week. Forgiveness is not another bill someone gets to hand you before you are ready. My parents never truly apologized. Dad texted once. Things got out of hand. We all made mistakes. We all. Those 2 words carried the same old trick. Spread the blame wide enough and no one has to carry it. I deleted the message. Mom mailed me a birthday card the next year. It arrived 4 days late. My name was spelled correctly. Inside she had written, "Hope the house is nice." No apology. No warmth. Just a sentence standing outside a locked door. I put the card in a box with the old bank pages, Brianna's letter, and the spare key from my duplex. Not because I wanted to live in the pain. Because sometimes you need evidence for yourself when nostalgia tries to make the past softer than it was. On the first warm evening of spring, I sat on my porch with a mug of coffee. Across the street, a little boy rode his bike in uneven circles. 2 houses down, someone grilled burgers. A dog barked at nothing. Ordinary sounds. Beautiful sounds. My phone buzzed once. A text from Aunt Linda. "Proud of you, kiddo." I smiled. Then I looked at my crooked mailbox, my cracked steps, my blue front door, and the ugly yellow kitchen glowing through the window. For years, my family called me practical like it was a punishment. But practicality built this porch. Discipline bought this key. Silence protected the dream they would have swallowed if I had shown it too soon. My parents thought dignity meant standing beside family no matter how they treated you. I learned dignity means knowing when standing there is destroying you. Family is not a title people get to cash in whenever they run out of money. Legacy is not one child shining while another disappears in the background holding the ladder. And self-worth does not begin the day people finally respect you. It begins the day you stop begging for respect from people who got comfortable denying it. I still hope Brianna learns. I still hope my parents wake up one day and understand what they broke. But I no longer build my peace on their understanding. That is the difference now. I used to be the daughter waiting in the doorway hoping someone would make room. Now I have my own door, my own key, my own life. And for the first time, nobody gets to walk in without knocking. I didn't lose my family that day. I lost the job they had mistaken for daughterhood. So tell me honestly, if your family only called it love when you were paying, would you forgive them? Or would you finally lock the door,